2025 season is about to start this week. We have race week is upon us. We can say that for the first time. And what are the big stories going in? First, we have Lewis is racing with Ferrari. Finally, we're going to see him in the car. Finally, we're going to see what the car can finally do. Um, as you know, testing is kind of a thing where we don't really know what's going on, whether or not they had the right fuel loads, whether or not they were doing race runs. We have a lot of assumptions. It looks like McLaren is going to be fast again, but the question is, what's going to happen? And so that's a big story. Lewis Hamilton, what's going on with McLaren? Um, Oscar got re-signed today. Lots of things going on this year. So we'll start this year in this episode with thanking our sponsor. Our first sponsor is Symphony of the Fight, training fight gear for life. Really excited about our first sponsor on the show. So let's get into it. Okay, so this year we have Lewis Hamilton going into the Ferrari, and this is what I'm curious about knowing. When we see Lewis in a capable vehicle, let's just assume for the sake of argument that this year we have a strong vehicle for the Ferrari. The Ferrari's fast this year. Okay, so assuming the Ferrari is fast, Lewis gets his opportunity to race in a fast vehicle, and then we have Lewis competing against this generation's speedsters, basically, for whatever you want to call them. So I'm just gonna assume Max is gonna figure it out in that car somehow, some way. So he'll be somewhere around there. Really interested to see what Max is doing this year with true competition, if that makes sense. There's a lot more to go with that, but just curious. But to get back to Lewis, we're putting Lewis in a capable car for the first time in, I think, 4 years. And this would be the first opportunity for him to show, what he has left. I mean, he had a pretty fiery interview with, I think it was Vogue, or, with one of the major publications. He had an interview saying that basically he wants to he's one of one, is what he's saying. And that, the age is not a thing. And so, I for one think that, you give him a capable car, he's going to be able to pull off the race. But, the question is, how is he going to deal with, potentially always starting behind Charles this year? Charles is fast, and excellent qualifying pace. And so let's just assume Lewis is starting somewhere in the P2, P3 range every race. I think Lewis excels at race pace, so that'll be a good thing. But, Verstappen will be up there, Leclerc will be up there. You'll have Piastri and Norris, assuming they'll be up there. And then we have the wild cards of Mercedes. George will be up there. He qualifies well if he has a car under him. And we'll see what's going to happen with Kimi. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with Kimi. I think Lewis will fare really well this year. I think if you give him a capable race car, he's going to do what he needs to do. And I think the level of focus that he has this year is completely different, just due to the fact that, he's going to have an opportunity to prove himself. This is a new, fresh start. Anytime you have a new, fresh start, you want to kind of, you want to show what you have. Show what you got, show that you're not done. There's a lot of new 5 rookies on the grid this year. It's a lot. And so I think Lewis is going to come in with a whole new focus. He's going to be interested, heavily invested in getting this done. With the setup changes and the different things going on with the car, I hope he's had enough time in the car. Obviously he couldn't do the end of season testing because of his obligations with Mercedes, and so he didn't get that opportunity to be in the car there. However, he did have, I felt like it was limited runs on the last day. I don't feel like he got as much track time as he could, but anyway, will Lewis be acclimated enough with the car to get going? And as we saw last year, a six race lead is enough to carry you through the championship. And so the last thing Lewis wants is to get started, behind one of those contenders, in 5 or 6 or 7 races in, and he's just now getting a feel for the car. And so, that's my only concern. I think we'll get along well with the team. I hope Ferrari does better with their strategy. They have made a lot of mistakes over the years, with Charles in particular. And so it makes you wonder, how the strategy will fare up there as well. Because one thing about Red Bull, they don't typically mess up the strategy. Um, and I think that goes to, their professionalism, their team, how they run it. They're very smooth. They know exactly what they're doing. Say what you want about them. But Red Bull knows exactly what's going on, how they're handling it. And how will Ferrari do in the professionalism? With Fred there now, hopefully it's getting better. But, we'll see. My prediction for the end of the year, we'll save that for the episode where we're going over, our top 10 and our top, our drivers list on our rankings list, basically, who's going to finish where before the season starts. But I'm feeling pretty good about Lewis this year, and I think that a motivated Lewis is a dangerous thing, and we're gonna find out a whole lot more about that coming up this year. So check out episode 2. We're gonna be talking about McLaren and Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, and how McLaren is gonna handle the success they had in the last year with the Constructors Championship. Follow and subscribe, and check us out on TikTok as well as YouTube, and the podcast will be up on all of your podcast platforms very shortly.